Let me throw this out there really quick, okay? People that are in sales, let's call it selling cars, for example. Everyone in sales that sells cars knows there's this thing called a laydown. That's where somebody comes to the dealership. They don't need a test drive. They know exactly the type of car they're looking for. They've got the money. They sit down, they sign a contract, and they're on their way, right? But the majority of people want to test drive the car. They want to know a little bit about the dealership. They want to know a little bit about the warranty. The majority of sales are not laydowns. We're not in the business of order taking, right? This, what you're describing, is finding women that are accepting of your sexual frame. And there are three types of women, if we're going to speak broadly. Ready? There are three types of women, broadly speaking, that are open to sex fast like this. You have women that are submissive, right? Women that are submissive, maybe a little bit inexperienced, that you can sort of use emotional momentum on them. But these are the women that are going to get buyer's remorse,
No.
right? We don't
Okay,
want
let
the
me ask you,
woman.
how many women do you think are submissive? If we were to have a survey and we would say, how many of you women feel feminine, submissive, or would like a more dominant man? If we were to do a survey, how many women do you think would say that they're submissive?
The overwhelming majority.
Okay, so basically what you said is this only works for the overwhelming majority so far. Okay, keep going.
So women that are very submissive or a little bit inexperienced, that are not, they don't say no very easily.
Okay, so it works for inexperienced women. Okay.
They will succumb to a high pressure style of game where you're kind of seizing on opportunities, right? But these are the women that are going to get buyer's remorse. These
When
are
you
the
say
women that are
buyer's
going to,
remorse, what does that mean?
that means she feels like she was pushed out of her comfort zone too quickly, but she rolled
O-
with the punches because she was afraid to say
Okay.
no.
And what
That's
would
one
this look
type.
like? Would she want to see you again with buyer's remorse, or would she not want to see you again?
The majority of women do not want to see you again if they have buyer's remorse.
Okay, so how do you explain that almost every single girl that I've slept with in like the last 2 years of my journey have wanted to see me again?
You're not going after these women in a predatory way, then congrats to you. So that's one type of woman
Thank you
that
very
will go
much.
for a
Okay.
fast escalation. The second
Hmm.
type of woman that will go for a fast escalation is sort of your average everyday woman that's open to it, but it's not her norm. It's not her default. Okay.
Hmm.
The issue with this is it's hard to find those women. Like, when are they open? When are the logistics good? So you have to kind of sexualize early, right? So you're
Hmm.
going to break some eggs in the process of finding those average everyday women that may be open to sexual escalation, but not on the norm. So you have to
Hmm.
sexualize quick. You have to set sexual frames quickly. So you're going to burn through some opportunities doing that. That's the second type.
Okay.
The third type of woman is the sexually open-minded woman, right?
Hmm.
That takes a little bit of skill. You've got to be able to identify these types of women. And when that happens, so be it. But it still brings me back to my original premise, which is that your style of game is not the most effective to run the majority of the time and on the majority of women.
Okay. So I get what you're saying here. So basically, I'm gonna say your argument back, and you can let me know if this is what it is or not, and then you can
Mm-hmm.
correct it. Okay. So what you're saying is there's percentage of the population, okay, and there's going to be some girls that are really agreeable and have a really hard time to say no. So when you escalate them, they're like, okay, kind of, maybe, and then have sex and they're like, fuck, I really wish that didn't happen. This is maybe where you get like the false grape allegations. This is where women won't want to see you again. They feel they're uncomfortable. Then you have a percentage of women that are sometimes open, sometimes not. So you got to catch them like on the good day, it sounds like, or like when they're in that phase. And then you have other women that are maybe a little bit more sexually open. And so you got to do a little bit of work there and you can close them. But then every other girl, I'm not talking about percentages here, but like the remainder of the girls are not sexually open-minded, not so agreeable, aren't in that state right now. And so if you try to escalate that on them, then it's going to backfire and they're basically just going to reject you and walk away or like not want to see you again or
The
something. Is that what you're
majority of
saying?
women, the majority of women, if you sexualize too quickly, will be turned off by it. Correct.
Yes, I mean, by definition, too quickly. If, yeah, of course. But what if you do it not too quickly? You do it at the very calibrated rate as
Playing
to the
solid
amount of
game.
attraction that you have. And that only takes an hour with most girls, or 2 hours, or 3 hours with most girls. Would you call that too quickly? Like, this is my question. If, for example, we could like do this, okay? And tomorrow you wake up, Eric, and every single girl you go on a date with really wants to sleep with you within 3 hours, would you do it or would you make them wait?
Being the man that I am now, I actually am a little bit more prone to wait. I actually like playing solid game as well. It's
You
a
keep saying solid game. So my question here is, okay, if a girl desperately wants to sleep with you within 3 hours, you're making her wait. Why?
If she's really attractive and I'm really turned on and she's ready to go, I'm open-minded to it, right? But
No, no,
I
no. So
actually,
this is the
uh,
hypothetical. She is very down. Okay.
uh,
Every single girl you meet, every girl, this is a hypothetical, obviously, but every single girl you meet is you meet her and within 3 hours, she wants to have sex with you. Like she's down.
no. I
But why
would I,
not?
what's the hypothetical?
So you wake up tomorrow, okay, you
Yeah.
get a magical ice white, the god of game spell over you, okay?
Okay.
And now
All
every
of a
time you
sudden,
speak to a
every
girl,
girl I come across, I can sleep with them in 3 hours or less. Would
they're
I?
very attracted to you within 3 hours. They're
uh,
thinking, I desperately want to fuck this guy.
mhm.
Every girl,
Well, if that was a thing, then I would and I wasn't engaged. Okay, I would probably
hypothetically, yeah.
selectively hook up with the most attractive ones. If I was turned on enough, and if I wasn't in the
Within
mood, I
three
wouldn't.
hours,
I'd
right?
slow it down. Okay.
Okay, so that's my point. I have that magical wand waved over me. Okay, most of my interactions when I run good sexual authority game is most of them want to have sex with me within 3 hours. And I do go through a lot of what I would call fantasy search. So there is no remorse. Girls have safe words. I tell them like, hey, if you're not feeling like, I think sex is really bad for me if the girl's not like really passionate and committed about this. If she's kind of like on the I don't want to have sex with her, right? So yeah, I don't have any sexual remorse from girls. They all want to see me again. But again, I can understand going back to what I said before. If you're not building any of this authority, if you're not building much attraction and you're mostly like vibing with the girl, then yeah, you have to wait. There's just anything, any form of sexualization then
Humor,
will be too
humor,
fast because you're not
humor,
building
and
up first.
humor and fun and laughter is what first brings her guard down, right? Not talking about sexual topics. The first
You're
way that I'm
wrong.
bringing her guard
You're
down is
just
with
wrong.
humor and fun.
Look, humor and fun can build attraction. It can make the girl feel more comfortable. It might bring a guard down a little bit. But if we're talking about sexual guard, if we're talking about sexual trust, then just being a funny, humorous guy isn't going to achieve that. Okay. There are some guys that are hilarious, that have such a great vibe, but the girls are not going to jump in bed with them and feel like they're going to have an amazing experience or have a lot of trust. What I've heard from girls most of the time, if a guy is just way too funny, they kind of just see him as like the clown. And they're like, okay, like no one wants to have sex with a guy that is just like laughing all the time and joking around. They want to have sex with a guy like the 50 Shades of Grey, right? That is wearing a suit, walking up, being a little bit mysterious and being more serious. So this is the big sticking point I actually had for years. I was like this sarcastic Australian guy that liked having fun. And it took me a long time to be able to sleep with girls, right? And not even 7 hours. It took me like 3 dates. And then I realized like I need to stop joking around as much. I can do that at the beginning, but hey, there's a point here. I need to be fucking serious. Okay. I need to be a little bit more masculine and dominant with this girl. And that's what actually built the sexual trust with her.
I found that about 33% of the women that I have hooked up with were down for things to escalate quickly. Another 33% were right in sort of the solid game range, which is that 4 to 10 hour window. And then I would say another 33% are longer and outside of that norm that actually takes more than 10 hours. I would say it's about one
I
third, one third, one third.
I agree. And dude, back in the day when I was probably running, I don't want to say similar game to you because I don't know exactly, but when I was running game for myself where I wasn't building any of this sexual authority, I was basically building attraction, having a good vibe, and then sexualizing through being on. So with my subcoms or by telling her like, damn, okay, you're really cute. Wow. Oh my God. Hey. Like when I was doing that, yeah, I agree with all these numbers. I agree that there's probably a lot of girls that are down early. But if you want to take the population, and you mentioned here before, you gave me the submissive girls that are average, that are agreeable, the average everyday girl that is open-minded sometimes, and the sexually open-minded girl, and then the rest, right? I agree. If you have the rest, for
No, no,
example,
no.
the virgins,
The middle girl is the rest. So you have the woman that's very
okay,
agreeable and submissive. Then you have the average, like majority of women. Then you have the woman that's very sexually open-minded. The sexually
okay,
open-minded
let's
one
take.
is down to hook up fast. The
Mhm.
agreeable one can be pressured into sex fast, which is not good. And you clarified that you don't do that, so I'm not accusing you of doing that.
No, you're good.
But then the majority of women in that middle range, we are much better at playing a solid, slower style of game with them and slowing it down, not sexualizing too quickly.
Do you feel that it's possible? Okay. Say you had a girl that's a virgin, all right? And she thinks that, like, hey, I don't want to have sex right at the moment because I'm just worried it's really, really going to hurt. Okay. I'm 20 years old. I've had some friends that have had sex and they said how painful it was. And so I walk around the world and I'm just so scared of this. Now, do you think this girl with most guys is going to have sex with them within 4 hours?
No,
I agree. Do you think that if you were able to build trust with this girl, talk about sex, and have her understand that sex doesn't have to be painful in the first time, that she'd be more open to it?
that's not how I would go about it, but perhaps she would be more open to it.
And that's my point. That's not how you go about it. So the way I'd go about it is I would talk to her about this and say, like, look, sex doesn't have to be painful on the first time. Most guys, it is painful because they don't use enough foreplay. They don't know what they're doing. They're not getting in the right headspace. I talk to her about how to accomplish this and about how to have an open feedback with her during sex. And this is not just a hypothetical example. This happened many times. And so this would be my point is there's probably ways where girls have these objections where it might be sex is painful. It might be most guys don't want to see me again after having sex. It might be like, hey, this guy might judge me. It might be this guy's really cool and I want a relationship with him. So I'm not going to have sex on the first night. He's going to think I'm a slut. So all of these, what I would call like concerns, you basically just need to build trust with a girl through sexual authority. You sexualize the conversation and then you chat to her about these concerns that come up. You overcome them. And then instead of just waiting for the girl to like magically just feel like, fuck, I guess I'll just have to go for this now, is you can lead her through that experience and make it happen a lot quicker.